The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days when 12-year-old Lily arrived at St. Mary's Children's Home. She sat in the back of Mrs. Chen's car, her small backpack clutched against her chest, staring out the window without really seeing anything. The windshield wipers moved back and forth, but Lily barely noticed them. Mrs. Chen, social worker, kept glancing at her through the rearview mirror. She'd tried talking to Lily several times during the drive, asking simple questions about school, about her favorite foods, about anything really. But Lily hadn't said a single word. Not one. Mrs. Chen sighed quietly and turned up the heat in the car, hoping at least to keep the girl warm. When they pulled up to the old brick building with its tall windows and white trim, Lily's hands tightened around her backpack. Inside that backpack was everything she owned now. 3 shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, some underwear and socks, a toothbrush, and one other thing. A small, worn harmonica that her mother had given her 2 years ago for her 10th birthday. It was silver once, but now it was scratched and dull. Still, Lily held on to it like it was made of gold.
"Oh, we're here, sweetheart,"
Mrs. Chen said softly, turning off the engine. She waited a moment before getting out, giving Lily time to prepare herself. But how do you prepare for something like this? How do you prepare to live somewhere without your mother? Inside, the orphanage was warmer than Lily expected. The walls were painted a soft yellow, and there were drawings hung up everywhere. It's made by the other kids who lived there. Mr. Patterson, the director, came out to meet them. He was a tall man with kind eyes and graying hair. He smiled at Lily, but she didn't smile back. She couldn't. "Hello there," he said gently, crouching down to be at her eye level. "I'm Mr. Patterson. We're glad you're here, even though I know you probably don't want to be. That's okay." A lot of kids feel that way at first. Lily just stared at him. Her dark eyes were empty, like something inside her had gone away and hadn't come back yet. Mr. Patterson stood up and looked at Mrs. Chen. They exchanged a glance that said more than words could. This girl was hurting badly. "Let me show you to your room," Mr. Patterson said. "You'll be sharing with another girl about your age. Her name is Rachel. She's really nice. I think you two will get along." They walked down a long hallway with wooden floors that creaked under their feet. Lily could hear voices and laughter coming from somewhere in the building. It sounded strange to her. How could anyone laugh right now? How could the world just keep going when everything had fallen apart? Her room was small, but neat. There were 2 beds, 2 dressers, and a window that looked out over the backyard where a big oak tree stood. One side of the room was clearly lived in, with posters on the wall and stuffed animals on the bed. The other side was empty, waiting for Lily. "This is your bed," Mr. Patterson said, pointing to the one by the window. "You can decorate it however you like. We'll get you some things if you need them." Lily walked over and sat on the edge of the bed. The mattress was soft. Too soft, maybe. Or maybe nothing felt right anymore. Mrs. Chen sat down beside her. "Lily, honey, I know this is hard. I know you miss your mom. But she's getting the best care possible at the hospital. The doctors are doing everything they can." At the mention of her mother, Lily's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. She'd cried so much in the first few days after the ambulance came. She'd cried until there was nothing left. Now she just felt hollow. 3 weeks ago, everything had been normal. Well, as normal as things could be for a single mom and her daughter living in a tiny apartment above a laundromat. Her mother, Rosa, worked 2 jobs. During the day, she cleaned houses. At night, she waited tables at a diner. They didn't have much money, but they had each other. And every night, no matter how tired Rosa was, she would sit on Lily's bed and sing to her. Rosa had the most beautiful voice. She sang old songs from her childhood, songs in Spanish that her own mother had sung to her. Lily didn't always understand all the words, but she understood the feeling. It was love. Pure love, wrapped up in melody. But then things started changing. Rosa began forgetting things. Little things at first. Where she put her keys. What day it was. She'd get confused sometimes, mixing up her work schedule. Lily noticed, but didn't say anything. She was 12. What did she know about adult problems? Then one night, Rosa started acting really strange. She was talking fast, saying things that didn't make sense. Her eyes looked wild, scared. Lily asked her mom if she was okay, but Rosa just kept pacing around their small apartment, muttering to herself. By morning, Rosa couldn't wake up. Lily shook her and shook her, but her mother just lay there, breathing but not opening her eyes. Lily had grabbed the phone with shaking hands and called 911. She remembered the ambulance. The paramedics moving quickly, the neighbor Mrs. Rodriguez, holding her as they took her mother away on a stretcher. She remembered the hospital, the doctors using big words she didn't understand. The worried looks on everyone's faces. No one could figure out what was wrong with Rosa. She was in something called a coma. Her body was there, but she wasn't really there. It was like she was sleeping but couldn't wake up. And the doctors didn't know why. Since Lily had no other family, Mrs. Chen had been called. That's how she ended up here at St. Mary's, while her mother lay in a hospital bed across town, silent and still. "I'll come check on you in a few days," Mrs. Chen said now, standing up. She squeezed Lily's shoulder. "If you need anything at all, Mr. Patterson will help you reach me." "Okay." Lily didn't respond, but Mrs. Chen hadn't really expected her to. She'd seen this before, kids so traumatized by sudden loss that words just wouldn't come after they left. She pulled out the harmonica and held it in both hands. The metal was cool against her palms. She brought it close to her face, close enough that she could see her reflection in its worn surface. All distorted and strange, her mother had taught her to play. Nothing fancy, just simple tunes. But Lily had loved it because it was something they did together. Rosa would hum a melody, and Lily would try to match it on the harmonica. They'd laugh when Lily hit a wrong note, and they'd cheer when she got it right. Lily put the harmonica to her lips now. She wanted to play. She wanted to hear something that reminded her of better times. But when she tried to blow into it, nothing came out. Not because the harmonica was broken, but because she was. Her breath caught in her throat, and suddenly she was crying again. Silent tears rolling down her cheeks. She lay down on the bed, curled up on her side, and clutched the harmonica to her chest. Outside, the rain finally stopped, but inside Lily's heart. The storm was just beginning. That night when her roommate Rachel came in, Lily pretended to be asleep. She heard the other girl move quietly around the room, trying not to disturb her. Rachel whispered goodnight before turning off the light. Even though she didn't know if Lily was awake to hear it, in the darkness, Lily opened her eyes. She stared at the ceiling and thought about her mother lying in that hospital bed. She thought about all the songs they'd never sing together again. All the nights that would pass without Rosa's voice filling the room with love, and she wondered if anything would ever feel okay again. 2 weeks passed at St. Mary's, and Lily still hadn't spoken a single word. The other kids had stopped trying to talk to her after the first few days. It wasn't that they were mean about it. They just didn't know what to say to the sad girl who sat by herself at every meal and stared out the window during free time, Rachel. Her roommate was the only one who kept trying. Every morning, she'd say good morning. Every night, she'd say good night. She'd tell Lily about her day, about the funny thing that happened in the common room, about the new recipe the cook tried that tasted terrible. Rachel talked enough for both of them, never seeming bothered that Lily never responded. "You don't have to talk," Rachel said one evening as they got ready for bed. "I just want you to know someone's here. That's all." Lily looked at her for a moment, really looked at her, and something flickered in her eyes. Not quite a smile, but maybe the ghost of one. It was the first time Rachel had seen anything on Lily's face besides sadness. The days at St. Mary's had a rhythm to them. Breakfast at 7. School lessons in the morning, since most of the kids were homeschooled there. Lunch at noon. Free time in the afternoon. Dinner at 6. Then evening activities before bed. Lily went through the motions like a robot, doing what she was supposed to do, but not really being present for any of it. At night, she'd take out a notebook Mrs. Chen had given her and write letters to her mother. Long letters about her day, about the people she'd met, about how much she'd missed her. She wrote things she couldn't say out loud, things that hurt too much to speak. She never sent the letters. She just kept them in the notebook. Page after page of words her mother would never read. Mrs. Chen visited every few days to check on her. Each time, She'd bring news from the hospital, though it was never good news. Rosa was still in the coma. The doctors were running more tests, trying different approaches, but nothing seemed to work. They didn't understand what was wrong with her. And that was the scariest part. "She's stable," Mrs. Chen would say, which Lily learned was doctor speak for not getting better but not getting worse either. It felt like being stuck in between, not knowing which way things would go. Then one afternoon, everything changed. Well, not everything. But something. Mr. Patterson called everyone into the common room after lunch. All the kids gathered around, wondering what was going on. The older kids sat on the couches while the younger ones sat cross-legged on the floor. Lily stood in the back corner, half hidden behind a bookshelf. "I have some exciting news," Mr. Patterson announced, holding up a colorful flyer. "The community center downtown is hosting a talent show next month. It's a fundraiser for families who are facing tough times with medical bills and things like that. They've invited us to participate, and I think it would be wonderful if some of you wanted to perform." The room erupted into chatter. Kids started talking all at once about what they could do. Rachel jumped up from the couch, her eyes bright with excitement. "I'm going to do a dance," she said. "I've been practicing this routine. I learned from a video online. Oh, this is going to be so fun." Other kids chimed in. 10-year-old Miguel said he could do magic tricks. His brother Carlos said he'd play guitar. 2 of the younger girls wanted to sing a duet. Everyone seemed thrilled about the idea. Everyone except Lily. She felt her stomach twist into knots. The talent show sounded nice, but it also sounded terrifying. Getting up in front of people, performing, being looked at. She couldn't imagine doing something like that, but then Mr. Patterson said something that made her freeze. "All the money raised will go directly to families who need help paying for medical care. Every ticket sold, every donation made, it all goes to people who are struggling with hospital bills and treatment costs." Lily's heart started beating faster. Medical bills. Hospital costs. Like what her mother must have. Mrs. Chen had mentioned something about bills piling up, but Lily hadn't really understood what that meant. Now she did. Someone had to pay for all those doctors, all those tests, all that time in the hospital. She touched the harmonica in her pocket. She carried it everywhere now, even though she still couldn't bring herself to play it. It was like having a piece of her mother with her. Something solid and real when everything else felt like it was falling apart that night. Rachel practiced her dance routine in their room, moving between the beds with surprising grace. Lily sat on her bed and watched, the harmonica in her hands. "You should do something," Rachel said, slightly out of breath. "For the talent show, I mean. Can you sing, or dance, or anything?" Lily shook her head slowly. "That's okay," Rachel said, not missing a beat. She sat down on her own bed, still breathing hard. "You could just come and watch. It'll be fun, even if you're not performing. The community center always has really good cookies at these things." But Lily wasn't thinking about cookies. She was thinking about her mother, about those medical bills, about money she didn't have and couldn't help with. She was just a kid. What could she possibly do? The next few days were full of excited chatter about the talent show. Kids were practicing constantly. Miguel kept messing up his magic tricks and making everyone laugh. Carlos's guitar playing was actually pretty good. The 2 little girls who wanted to sing kept arguing about which song to choose. Rachel practiced her dance every chance she got. She was actually really talented, moving with a confidence that Lily envied. Rachel made everything look easy. "Only 2 more weeks until the show," Rachel said one morning, marking the calendar on the wall. "I'm getting nervous. What if I forget the steps? What if I trip?" Lily watched her from across the room, still silent but listening to every word. One afternoon, Lily was walking past Mr. Patterson's office when she heard voices. The door was slightly open, and she didn't mean to eavesdrop, but she heard her mother's name and stopped. "Rosa Martinez's case is complicated," a woman's voice said. It sounded like Mrs. Chen. "The hospital has been very patient, but the bills are adding up. They're talking about transferring her to a long-term care facility soon if her condition doesn't change. Insurance doesn't cover everything, and there's no family to help with costs." "That poor girl," Mr. Patterson said. "She hasn't spoken since she got here. I'm worried about her." I am too, Mrs. Chen replied. Grief affects children in different ways. Some talk more, some shut down completely. Lily's shut down. I just hope she finds a way to open up before it causes permanent damage. Lily backed away from the door, her heart pounding. Long-term care facility. Transfer. Those words sounded bad, sounded final, sounded like giving up. Like they were going to move her mother somewhere far away where Lily might never see her again. She ran to her room, thankful that Rachel was at art class and wouldn't be back for an hour. Lily pulled out the harmonica and held it with trembling hands. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory, singing those old songs. Filling their tiny apartment with warmth and love, Lily brought the harmonica to her lips. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold it steady. She tried to blow into it, tried to make a sound, any sound. But just like before, nothing came out. Her throat was too tight, her chest too heavy. She threw the harmonica onto the bed and put her face in her hands. She wanted to scream, to cry, to do something, but she couldn't. She was stuck, frozen in this awful place where nothing felt right and everything hurt. That evening at dinner, she barely touched her food. Rachel kept glancing at her with worried eyes but didn't say anything. After dinner, when Mr. Patterson brought out the sign-up sheet for the talent show, kids crowded around it, adding their names with excitement. Lily stood far back, watching them. Rachel signed up, and then turned to look at Lily, a question in her eyes. Want to put your name down? Rachel asked gently. You could do anything. Even just stand up there and wave. That counts as talent in my book. Lily stared at the sign-up sheet. Her mother needed help. The talent show would raise money for families like hers. But how could she possibly get up in front of all those people? She couldn't even speak to the kids she lived with. She shook her head and walked away, leaving Rachel standing there with the pen in her hand. Later that night, Lily couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, listening to Rachel's steady breathing across the room, and thought about everything she'd lost. Her home, her normal life, her mother's voice, that voice that had sung to her every single night, making everything feel safe and okay. In the darkness, Lily reached for the harmonica on her nightstand. She held it close, feeling its weight, its coolness, its familiarity, and she made a decision. She didn't know if she could go through with it. She didn't know if she was brave enough, but she had to try. For her mother, she had to at least try. The night before the talent show, Lily couldn't stop shaking. She'd been like this all day, her hands trembling, her stomach churning. She hadn't signed up to perform. She'd told herself 100 times that she couldn't do it. It was impossible, that she should just go and watch like Rachel suggested. But something kept pulling at her. The image of her mother lying in that hospital bed. The words she'd overheard about transferring Rosa to some long-term facility. The thought that maybe, just maybe, she could help somehow. Rachel was asleep already, exhausted from her final dance practice. She'd been so excited all week, talking nonstop about the show, about the costume she'd put together from clothes in the donation bin, about how many people might be there. Lily got out of bed quietly and tiptoed down the hallway. Her bare feet made no sound on the old wooden floors. She knew where she was going, even though she'd never been there alone at night. The music room St. Mary's had a small room near the back of the building where kids could play instruments or listen to music. There was an old piano that was slightly out of tune, some drums, a guitar with a missing string, and various other instruments that people had donated over the years. During the day, it was usually noisy and full of kids. But at night, it was silent and empty. Lily pushed open the door. Moonlight streamed through the window, making everything look silver and strange. She walked to the middle of the room and pulled the harmonica from her pajama pocket. She'd been carrying it constantly like a talisman. It's like something that could protect her if she held it close enough. She sat down on the floor, cross-legged, and stared at the harmonica in her hands. Her mother had been so happy when she gave it to Lily for her birthday 2 years ago. They couldn't afford much, but Rosa had saved up 4 weeks to buy it. Music is magic, Mia, her mother had said, using the Spanish word for my daughter that always made Lily feel special. When you play music, you can say things that words can't say. You can tell people how you feel without speaking at all. Lily closed her eyes and tried to remember. She tried to remember the exact sound of her mother's voice, the exact melody of the lullaby Rosa sang every night. It was an old song, something Rosé's grandmother had taught her when she was little. The words were in Spanish, and Lily had never known what all of them meant, but she knew what the song felt like. It felt like love. It felt like home. She brought the harmonica to her lips. Her hands were still shaking, but she took a deep breath and tried anyway. One note came out, soft and uncertain. Then another. Then another. It wasn't the full melody yet, just pieces of it, fragments that didn't quite connect. But it was something. It was more than the silence she'd been living in for weeks. "It's pretty," a voice said from the doorway. Lily jumped, her heart racing. She turned to see Mr. Williams, the night janitor, standing there with his cleaning cart. He was an older man, probably in his 60s, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Lily had seen him around but had never really paid attention to him. "Sorry," he said quickly, holding up his hands. "Didn't mean to scare you. I was just finishing up my rounds and heard music. Wanted to make sure everything was okay." Lily clutched the harmonica and looked down at the floor. Embarrassed to have been caught, Mr. Williams pushed his cart into the room and sat down on one of the chairs, groaning a little as his knees bent. "These old bones don't move like they used to," he said with a chuckle. "You're the new girl, right, Lily?" She nodded slightly, still not looking at him. "I heard you haven't been talking much," he said, not unkindly. "That's okay. Sometimes words don't work right when you're hurting." Lily finally looked up at him. His eyes were sad, but warm, like he understood something about pain that other people didn't. "I lost my wife 3 years ago," Mr. Williams said quietly. "Cancer. It happened fast. Too fast. One day she was fine, and 6 months later she was gone." He paused, looking out the window at the moon. "I stopped talking for a while, too. Not completely. I had to talk at work and stuff. But inside, where it counted, I went quiet. Stopped saying the things that mattered." Lily felt tears building up in her eyes, but fought them back. "You know what helped me?" Mr. Williams asked. "Music. My wife loved music. She played the piano, not very well, but she loved it anyway. After she died, I couldn't stand to hear music. It hurt too much. But then one day I was cleaning the church down the street and I heard someone playing a hymn my wife used to love. And I just stood there and cried. Cried like a baby right there in the middle of the church." He smiled at the memory. "But after I cried, something felt different. Like a door had opened up inside me that had been locked. The music did that. It let me feel things I'd been too scared to feel." Lily's tears were falling now, silent and steady down her cheeks. "That song you were playing," Mr. Williams said. "It sounds important. Sounds like it means something." Lily nodded, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "Tomorrow's the big talent show, right?" he asked, another nod. "You thinking about playing?" Lily shook her head quickly, fear flashing across her face. "Why not?" Mr. Williams asked gently. "And I'm not trying to push you, just curious. You play beautifully, even just those few notes." Lily opened her mouth, and for a moment it looked like she might speak, but nothing came out. She closed her mouth again, frustrated with herself. "You scared?" Mr. Williams asked. She nodded. "Of what?" "The people. Making a mistake?" Lily thought about it, and then shook her head. "It wasn't that exactly." "Scared of feeling too much?" he asked softly. Lily's breath caught in her throat. Yes, that was it. If she played that song, her mother's song, in front of all those people, she'd have to feel everything. All the sadness, all the fear, all the love she'd been trying to keep locked away because it hurt too much. "I get it," Mr. Williams said. "I do. But here's what I learned. You can run from feelings all you want, but they're still there. They're always there. And sometimes the only way through is straight ahead." Through the middle of the hurt, they sat in silence for a moment, the moonlight making everything feel dreamlike and unreal.
"Your mama,"
Mr. Williams said. "The one in the hospital? I heard some of the staff talking. She's the reason you're here, right?" Lily nodded, fresh tears spilling over. What do you think she'd want you to do tomorrow? Lily thought about her mother. Rosa was brave. She worked 2 jobs without complaining. She sang even when she was tired. She smiled even when things were hard. Rosa never ran from anything. Oh, I think Mr. Williams said, standing up slowly. She'd want you to be brave. Not for anybody else. For yourself? Because being brave isn't about not being scared. It's about being scared and doing it anyway. He picked up his cleaning cart and headed for the door. Before he left, he turned back. Whatever you decide, it'll be the right choice. Just make sure it's yours. After he was gone, Lily sat alone in the music room for a long time. She played the harmonica again, this time getting a little further into the melody. It wasn't perfect. She hit wrong notes and had to stop and start over. But it was there, buried in her memory. Waiting to be found, she thought about her mother singing this song night after night, year after year. She thought about how music had been the thread that connected them, the language they spoke when regular words weren't enough. And she thought about Mr. Williams and what he'd said. About going through the middle of the hurt instead of around it. By the time Lily crept back to her room, the moon had moved across the sky and dawn wasn't far away. Rachel was still asleep, curled up under her blankets. Lily climbed into her own bed and pulled out her notebook. The one where she wrote letters to her mother. She wrote one more letter, shorter than the others. Mama, tomorrow I'm going to try to be brave. I'm going to try to play our song. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try. I hope you can hear it somehow, wherever you are. I hope you know I love you. I hope you come back to me. She closed the notebook and tucked it under her pillow. Then she held the harmonica against her chest and finally fell asleep. When she woke up a few hours later, her decision was made. She was terrified, absolutely terrified. But she was going to play. She was going to find her voice again. Even if that voice came through a beat-up old harmonica instead of words. For her mother, she would be brave. The community center was packed with people. Lily had never seen so many faces in one place before. Families filled the rows of chairs. Kids ran around excited, and volunteers were selling refreshments near the entrance. The smell of popcorn and cookies filled the air. Someone had hung colorful streamers from the ceiling. Lily felt like she might throw up. You okay? Rachel asked, noticing how pale Lily looked. They were backstage with all the other performers waiting for the show to start. Rachel looked amazing in her dance outfit, confident and ready. Meanwhile, Lily felt like her legs might give out at any moment. Lily nodded, but it was a lie. She wasn't okay. She was the opposite of okay. Her hands were sweating so much she could barely hold the harmonica. What had she been thinking? She couldn't do this. She couldn't get up in front of all these strangers and play. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Community Hope Talent Show. A woman's voice boomed through the speakers. The crowd erupted in applause. We're so grateful you're here tonight to support families in our community who are facing medical challenges. Every dollar raised goes directly to helping people who need it most. Lily's heart pounded harder. That's why she was here. For her mother, for those medical bills that kept piling up, for the chance that this might somehow help. The show began. A little boy went first, reciting a poem about his dog. He was maybe 6 years old and forgot half the words, but everyone clapped enthusiastically anyway. Then came a teenage girl who sang a pop song, her voice strong and clear. Then Miguel with his magic tricks, which actually went pretty well this time, making the audience laugh and gasp. Each performance went by in a blur. Lily watched from the wings, her stomach doing flips. She hadn't officially signed up, but during breakfast that morning she'd whispered something to Mr. Patterson. Her first words in weeks. Just for words. I want to play. Mr. Patterson's eyes had gone wide with surprise, then soft with understanding. Of course, he'd said quietly. I'll add you to the list. Now, as the show continued, Lily wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake. Rachel's turn came. Lily watched as her roommate danced across the stage, moving with grace and joy. The audience loved it, clapping along to the music. When Rachel finished with a final spin, Everyone cheered. She came off stage grinning, her face flushed with happiness. "That was amazing," Rachel said, hugging Lily quickly. "You're going to be great too."
Ow.
But Lily didn't feel great. She felt sick. More acts went by. Carlos played guitar. The two little girls sang their duet, holding hands the whole time. A teenager did a comedy routine that had everyone laughing. The show was going so well. Everyone was having such a good time. And Lily was about to ruin it by freezing up there or running away or just completely falling apart. And now, the announcer said, "We have a very special performance. This young lady hasn't been with us at St. Mary's for very long. She has a story that reminds us why we're all here tonight. Please welcome Lily Martinez." Lily's legs wouldn't move. She stood frozen in the wings, terror washing over her in waves. This was it. This was the moment. And she couldn't do it. Rachel appeared beside her. "Hey," she said softly, taking Lily's hand. "Look at me." Lily turned to face her roommate, tears already forming in her eyes. "You don't have to be perfect," Rachel said. "Nobody out there expects perfect. They just want to see someone try. That's all. Just try." "I'm scared," Lily whispered. Her voice came out hoarse and broken from weeks of not using it. "I know," Rachel said, squeezing her hand. "But your mom would be so proud of you right now, just for standing here, just for getting this far." Something in those words gave Lily a tiny spark of courage. Her mother. This was for her mother. Lily walked onto the stage on shaking legs. The lights were bright, too bright, and she couldn't see much past the first few rows. But she could feel all those eyes on her, hundreds of people watching, waiting. She stood in the center of the stage, the harmonica clutched in both hands. The silence felt enormous, pressing down on her from all sides. Someone coughed in the audience. A baby made a small sound. Time seemed to stretch out forever. Lily closed her eyes. She thought about her mother's face, the way Rosa smiled when she sang, the way her voice filled their tiny apartment with warmth. She thought about those nights when everything was okay, when it was just the two of them and their music. She brought the harmonica to her lips and played the first note. It came out shaky and uncertain, but it was there. She played the second note, then the third. The melody started to take shape, that old lullaby her mother had sung 1,000 times. Lily's hands were trembling so badly she almost dropped the harmonica, but she kept going. Then, about halfway through, something broke inside her. All the feelings she'd been holding back for weeks, all the fear and sadness and love and grief, it all came rushing out at once. The music became something more than notes. It became everything she couldn't say, everything she'd been holding inside. She stopped playing. Her hands dropped to her sides. In the bright stage lights, with hundreds of people watching, Lily opened her eyes and spoke for the first time since the ambulance took her mother away. "This is for my mama," she said, her voice small but clear in the hushed auditorium. "She's in the hospital. She taught me this song. It's her favorite." And then she played again. This time, the notes came out stronger. Not perfect, but true. She poured everything into that old harmonica, every ounce of love she had for her mother. Every hope that Rosa would wake up and come back to her. The melody filled the auditorium, simple and heartbreaking and beautiful. Lily couldn't see the audience, but she could feel them listening. Really listening? The silence wasn't scary anymore. It was respectful, reverent even. Like they understood that what they were hearing wasn't just music. It was a daughter's love, pure and desperate and real. When she finished the last note, the silence continued for a moment. Then someone started clapping. Then someone else. Then the whole auditorium erupted in applause. But Lily barely heard it. Tears were streaming down her face, and she felt lighter somehow. Like playing that song had released something heavy she'd been carrying. She walked off stage in a daze. Rachel was there immediately, hugging her tight. "You did it," Rachel kept saying. "You were amazing. You did it." But before Lily could really process what had happened, a woman pushed through the backstage area. She was tall and professional looking, wearing a doctor's coat with a stethoscope around her neck. She had a visitor's badge from the hospital clipped to her pocket. "Excuse me," the woman said urgently, looking around. "The girl who just played Lily Martinez. I need to speak with her. Right now." Mr. Patterson appeared, looking concerned. "I'm the director here. Is something wrong?" "No," the woman said, her eyes wide and intense. "Quite the opposite. My name is Dr. Helen Reeves. I'm a neurologist, and I think I know what's wrong with that girl's mother." Lily's heart stopped. Everything around her seemed to freeze. "What?" Mr. Patterson said. Dr. Reeves looked directly at Lily. "That song you played. And what you said about your mother singing to you every night. I was here for the fundraiser just to support the community. When you spoke about your mother singing, something clicked. I need to know more about her symptoms. How long she sang to you, if her behavior changed before she got sick?" "Everything. I don't understand," Mr. Patterson said. "Your mother," Dr. Reeves said to Lily, speaking fast now. "Before she collapsed, did she start acting differently? Confused? Saying strange things? Moving oddly?" Lily nodded, her mind racing back to those terrible days before the ambulance came. "And the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong?" Dr. Reeves asked. Another nod. Dr. Reeves pulled out her phone. "I need to get to County General Hospital immediately. I think your mother has anti-NMDA receptor encephalitis. It's rare, often misdiagnosed. But the symptoms you described, combined with the sudden onset, it fits. And it's treatable if we catch it in time." "Treatable?" Lily whispered, afraid to hope. "Yes," Dr. Reeves said, already dialing. "If I'm right, we can help her. We can wake her up." The world spun around Lily. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. She just wanted to play a song for her mother. She just wanted to be brave for once. And now this stranger was saying she might have answers. "I'm calling the hospital now," Dr. Reeves said. "I'll need to examine her and run specific tests. But if I'm right, and I think I am, we might be able to save her life." Lily's legs finally gave out. She sat down hard on the floor, Rachel kneeling beside her. Around them, people were talking, moving, making calls. But all Lily could think about was one word: treatable. Her mother might wake up. After weeks of silence and darkness and fear, there might actually be hope. Lily clutched the harmonica to her chest and cried. But this time, they weren't tears of sadness. They were something else entirely. They were tears of possibility. The next 48 hours felt like the longest of Lily's life. Dr. Reeves had rushed to the hospital that same night, right after the talent show. She'd called Mr. Patterson the next morning to explain what was happening. And he gently told Lily the news. Her mother had something called anti-NMDA receptor encephalitis. It was a rare disease where the body's immune system attacked the brain. Dr. Reeves said it explained everything. The confusion, the strange behavior, the sudden collapse into a coma. Without the right diagnosis, people could stay sick for months or even die. But with the right treatment, they could recover. They could wake up. Lily spent those 2 days in a fog of hope and fear. What if Dr. Reeves was wrong? What if the treatment didn't work? What if they were too late? The questions spun around in her head constantly, making it hard to eat or sleep or think about anything else. Rachel stayed close to her the whole time. It's not saying much, but just being there. That helped more than words could have. On the third day, Mrs. Chen arrived at St. Mary's in the afternoon. Lily saw her car pull up and knew immediately from the look on her face. Mrs. Chen was smiling, actually smiling. "She's awake," Mrs. Chen said, barely getting through the door before the words tumbled out. "Lily, your mother is awake." Lily couldn't breathe. The world seemed to tilt sideways. "Dr. Reeves was right," Mrs. Chen continued, kneeling down to look Lily in the eyes. "They started treatment right away, and your mother began responding almost immediately. She woke up this morning. She's weak, and she's confused about what happened, but she's awake. She's talking. And the first thing she asked about was you." Lily burst into tears. Not the silent tears she'd cried so many times before, but big, loud, gasping sobs that shook her whole body. Rachel hugged her from one side and Mrs. Chen from the other, and Lily just let herself fall apart with relief. "Can I see her?" Lily managed to ask between sobs. "Please, can I see her?" "That's why I'm here," Mrs. Chen said, wiping her own eyes. "Let's go right now." The drive to the hospital felt endless, even though it only took 20 minutes. Lily sat in the back seat, clutching her harmonica, her leg bouncing nervously the whole way. What would her mother look like? Would she remember everything? Would she be okay? Mrs. Chen parked and led Lily through the hospital corridors. The smell of antiseptic and the sound of beeping machines brought back terrible memories of the last time Lily was here. The day the ambulance brought her mother in. But this time was different. This time her mother was awake. They stopped outside a room on the 4th floor. Through the small window in the door, Lily could see a figure in the bed. Her mother, actually sitting up, not lying still like a statue. "Ready?" Mrs. Chen asked softly. Lily nodded, even though she wasn't sure she was ready for anything. Mrs. Chen pushed open the door. "Rosa, there's someone here to see you." The woman in the bed turned her head, and Lily's breath caught in her throat. Her mother looked so different. Thinner, paler, with dark circles under her eyes. But she was awake. She was alive. And when Rosa saw Lily, her whole face transformed. "Mia," Rosa whispered, tears instantly streaming down her face. "My baby. Come here." Lily ran to the bed and threw her arms around her mother. Rosa held her tight, even though her arms felt weak and shaky. They both cried, holding each other like they'd never let go again. "I'm sorry," Rosa kept saying. "I'm so sorry, baby. I didn't mean to leave you." "I didn't mean to get sick." "It's okay," Lily said, her voice muffled against her mother's shoulder. "You're okay now. That's all that matters." They stayed like that for a long time, just holding each other. Mrs. Chen quietly stepped out to give them privacy. Finally, Rosa pulled back a little to look at her daughter. "They told me what happened. About the talent show. About how you played for me." Fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. "I wish I could have heard it. I can play it now," Lily said, wiping her eyes. "I have the harmonica." "Please," Rosa said. "I would love that more than anything." Lily pulled out the old silver harmonica, the one her mother had given her for her 10th birthday. She sat on the edge of the hospital bed and began to play. The lullaby filled the small room, the same melody Rosa had sung 1,000 nights. Now coming back to her through her daughter's music, Rosa closed her eyes and listened, a soft smile on her tired face. When Lily finished, Rosa took her hand. "That was beautiful," she said. "You've gotten so much better." "I practiced," Lily said. "In my head, every night I'd think about you and think about the song. They told me I might have died if that doctor hadn't figured out what was wrong," Rosa said quietly. "And she only figured it out because of you. Because you were brave enough to play, to talk about me singing to you." She shook her head in wonder. "My brave girl, you saved my life. You would have done the same for me," Lily said simply. In a heartbeat, Rosa agreed. Every single time, Dr. Reeves came by later that afternoon to check on Rosa. She smiled when she saw Lily sitting beside the bed, still holding her mother's hand. "How are we feeling today?" Dr. Reeves asked Rosa, checking her chart. "Tired," Rosa admitted, "but better. So much better than before." "That's good," Dr. Reeves said. "The treatment is working well. You'll need to stay in the hospital for another week or two, and then you'll need physical therapy and follow-up care. But your prognosis is excellent. You should make a full recovery." "I don't know how to thank you," Rosa said, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank your daughter," Dr. Reeves said, glancing at Lily. "If she hadn't described your symptoms in exactly the way she did, I might not have made the connection. Anti-MDA receptor encephalitis is rare, and it mimics other conditions. But her description of how you sang every night, then the sudden behavior changes, then the collapse, it all clicked into place." She paused, then added, "And there's something else you should know. The fundraiser that night raised over $15,000. The community center is distributing it among families with medical needs. Your family qualifies. It won't cover everything, but it will help significantly with the bills." Rosa started crying again. "I can't believe this. I just can't believe it." Over the next 2 weeks, Lily visited the hospital every single day after school. She'd sit with her mother, sometimes talking, sometimes playing the harmonica, sometimes just being together in comfortable silence. Rosa grew stronger each day. The color came back to her face. Her voice got steadier. She started walking around the room with help from the nurses. The hospital's charity program helped cover most of the medical costs, and the fundraiser money took care of much of the rest. People from the community kept stopping by, people Lily had never met, bringing flowers and cards and well wishes. It turned out that a lot of people had been at the talent show that night. They'd been moved by Lily's performance, and they wanted to help. "You touched people," Rosa told her daughter one afternoon. "You showed them what real courage looks like." Finally, the day came when Rosa was discharged from the hospital. Lily, Mrs. Chen, and Mr. Patterson were all there to bring her home. Well, not home exactly. Their old apartment above the laundromat was gone. They couldn't afford it anymore, and Rosa was going to need help for a while. But St. Mary's had a special program for families reuniting after crisis. They could stay in a small apartment connected to the main building until Rosa was fully recovered and back on her feet. It wasn't much, just 2 rooms and a tiny kitchen. But it was theirs. Together. That first night back, Rosa tucked Lily into bed just like old times. She sat on the edge of the mattress and smiled down at her daughter. "Sing to me?" Lily asked, just like she used to when she was little. "Always," Rosa said. She began singing the old lullaby, her voice still a little weak, but beautiful nonetheless. Lily closed her eyes and listened, feeling safer than she had in months. When the song ended, she opened her eyes. "Mama." "Yes, Mia. Can I play it for you on the harmonica?" Rosa's eyes filled with happy tears. "I would love that." So Lily played, and Rosa hummed along, and for the first time in what felt like forever, everything was okay again. 6 months later, St. Mary's held their annual spring fundraiser. This time, it wasn't just the kids from the orphanage performing. Rosa had recovered fully and gone back to work, though just 1 job now instead of 2. The community had helped her find a better position with actual benefits and reasonable hours. When the organizers asked if Rosa and Lily would perform together, they didn't hesitate. They stood on that same stage where everything had changed. Rosa sang the old lullaby in her beautiful voice, while Lily played the harmonica beside her. The audience watched, many of them remembering that night months ago when a scared, silent girl had found her courage. After they finished, Lily looked out at the crowd. She saw Rachel, who'd become her best friend. She saw Mr. Williams, the janitor who'd helped her find her way. She saw Dr. Reeves, who'd saved her mother's life. She saw all the people who'd donated money, sent cards, offered help when they needed it most, and she realized something important. Music really was magic, just like her mother had always said. Not because it could fix everything or make problems disappear, but because it could connect people. It could help you say things that words couldn't say. It could turn strangers into friends and fear into hope.